There are times where I've made the internet angry because of my opinions, and that couldn't be more true for when I made a short talking about budget cars and the JZX90 just happened to be floating along in there.
If we had to pick, we would go with either a JZX90, which is a twin-turbo 1J, which is pretty awesome.
And now let me be clear. I stand by that, okay? I said the JZX platform was great for a car that you could keep forever, and therefore, it was a budget platform. And I say the same thing about the Chevy Corvette, because let's be clear. There ain't nothing cheaper than an LS in pretty much anything, okay? And I get it. There's a little bit of criticism around the opinion. And that's typically how it works with trends as well. Critical opinions have a tendency to bring critical conversation in comments. So I figured I'd come back with some more, talking about the biggest drift trends of 2024, or at least what I think is gonna kind of take the waves, if you will, at your local track as we jump into March and April, which up here will hopefully be springtime. But from that, I do want to say if you're waiting around for the snow to melt, you're going to want to jump on over to Torque Drift 2, which you can download for free on the Epic Games Store. You can jump in, you can play on Adam LZ's track. There's a bunch of cars that you can play for free, and if you're looking to modify your car, you can actually jump in and start buying parts and cars, and you can actually go and mod your car in the game so you can slide around with something that's very special to you. Now, with that being said, here's the first trend I think I'm seeing a lot more of, and that has a lot to do with the good old Mazda Miatas. I think they're going to continue to grow in the sport, and I'm not sure what it is about the car in its entirety, but for some reason I see more and more Miatas pretty much at every single event. Now, I know the Mazda Miata had an OEM LSD. I also know that the wheelbase is kind of funky for the fact of drifting, but people don't really seem to care. And just the whole thing is just slightly underpowered as a platform as a whole. But I suppose with the really narrow wheels and the fact that everything on the car is relatively pretty affordable, it does make it a great budget drift car. Here's one thing I will say about the Mazda Miata is that you can get some really awesome examples with rebuilt titles or even no titles that work great for drifting. And I think as you start jumping into 2024, you're gonna see more of those things slide around. Plus, at the same time, having a convertible and drifting with your homies in a tandem, there's nothing really quite there's nothing any better than that, okay? And we've probably heard about Laguna Seca getting sued for the 9 billionth time here in the United States. Tracks just seem to be getting shut down more than they are staying afloat. And that's a really common thing as everybody starts popping out more children and having more houses, okay? But what I will say is there's a sliver of light. There's a sliver of good news in 2024. And that is the fact that more tracks are adopting drifting as a form of motorsport, including more sanctioned events in the US. Some not even racetracks at all. Here's the thing. There are obviously the big dogs like Formula Drift, but there's also things like US Drift, and there's even newer things that you may have seen out there on the internet called like Drift Appalachia or Appalachia, depending on where you're from. Now, here's the thing with that is that's American Toge that they're talking about, and they're going to be running events in 2024, which is wild. Grid Life has actually opened up a full festival at Road America, which if you don't know, that is a huge deal. There is a growing skid pad and open lattes that seem to be popping up just about everywhere. And sure, drifting can be loud, but it seems like more tracks are accommodating to the track wear with just charging more money, which is, in my opinion, I think is fair. The fact that there's going to be drifting on Road America is like hell freezing over for people that live up here in Wisconsin and love cars because nobody ever thought that was going to happen again. And on top of that, you're seeing tons of inspiration from Japan. You don't really have to go anywhere these days to see that everybody and their mother went to Tokyo Auto Salon to check out the cars, and there's 9 billion shorts about it. But what I will say is there doesn't seem to be enough people talking about what's happening in New Zealand. New Zealand and those areas and those countries have done a fantastic job at bringing some of the best talent when it comes to professional motorsports I've seen pretty much ever, okay? And I've seen a ton of growth and unique drift builds jumping into almost US style livery kits with rotary swapped S chassis, which is not a common thing, but I think it is going to inspire more people to get a little bit wilder with their swaps. I've been seeing rotaries pop up more in S chassis than I think anything else, and I think the fact that it is so unique makes a lot of people love it. There's nothing cooler than hearing a rotary just spit in flames anywhere you go, and I think that's just one of those things that people love about the sport. The sport has style, and I don't think there's an engine more stylish than a rotary turbo. With that being said, said, there are a couple other really cool things going on around the world. You've got things happening in Japan that continue to solidify it as the home for drifting. You've got the American Toge coming out, which is just the wildest thing I've ever seen before in my entire life. Ryan Turk drifted a truck on it. It's like, how more ass backwards could you possibly get? And on top of that, you're seeing a lot of awesome talent come from New Zealand, and the style and the trends from that country, I think, are definitely worth looking into. But you guys will have to let me know what you think below. And if you're still waiting for the ice to freeze, or you're waiting to finish your car and you need something to do in the meantime, go download Torque Drift 2. You can download it free on the Epic Games Store. It's a super fun game. There's new updates coming out every single month. Our next update is huge on the optimization side to make it easier for everyone to play and drift and have a great time. And we're continuing to listen to all of your feedback. So if you do have any feedback, drop it below as well. Let us know what you're building over there on Torque Drift 2. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.